Hey guys, it's Reuben here. Finding a place to live here in Sweden as an international student can be quite tricky, especially in bigger cities, but this is still possible. So here is a video that would tell you about all the things you need to know and help you make your planning process less of a hassle. Some of the bigger cities and more popular student cities in Sweden have a lot of students and can have long wait lists, which can present challenges in finding student housing. So the first thing you have to think is, number one, knowing your options, like are you guaranteed accommodation or not? This entirely depends on which university you are going to. For example, there are universities that guarantees accommodation for exchange students but not for degree students. Other universities guarantees accommodation for both exchange and tuition fee paying students. So it is important that you check your university if they can guarantee you student housing. Number two, start your search as early as you get accepted. Due to the high demand for housing in any city in Sweden, it is important to take this into consideration and start your search once you get admitted. There are some students who considered starting off on temporary housing, like student hostels and Airbnb, where you can continue your search to a more permanent place. It can also increase your chance of getting accommodations by including surrounding towns and cities. Other students also come earlier before the term starts to see and check possible accommodations. Number three, know what type of accommodation you want. There are a few options in regards to finding accommodation, and it entirely depends on your budget, how social you are, and so on. So if you are keen on sharing and very social, there are corridor rooms and student flats. If you're more effective at being alone, then there are also studio flats with living room, kitchen, and bathroom all in one unit. You can also search for a place to live on the Swedish rental market by registering in a housing queue or a sublet. Obviously, there are advantages and disadvantages to the different types of accommodation. Number four, avoid scams and fake offers. There are a few people on the private market that will unfortunately try to take advantage of the high demand for housing in Sweden. They have fake advertisements that aim to scam you. So make sure to double or triple check the reliability of these adverts. So remember to check for red flags. So a good basic rule is to never pay anything in advance. You can also research the location and the landlord. For example, you can Google the address and check if it's an actual area with buildings with flats. Number five, check out the average housing costs. The average rent again depends on how big the city is, the type of housing, the location, the standards, and so on. Accommodation in the city center will probably be in a higher demand, but not necessarily more expensive. If you can find accommodation in the university city itself, you might look in places further away but with good commuting options. It is a good idea to know the average rent for a student room in your university city before your arrival, as well as the additional costs and fees. A good advice is be realistic. Calculate realistic housing budget in advance and make sure to include extra fees and a deposit. Consider renting a room in neighboring cities or outside the city center. Number six, check if your housing is furnished or unfurnished. There are housing companies that offer furnished studio apartments for students and some do not. So make sure to contact your landlord regarding this matter. There are several ways to arrange furniture even with a lower budget. You can ask the previous tenant if they want to sell items to you. There are also a lot of second-hand shops where you can buy furniture. And another option would be using social network, where you can post an ad or respond to a listing on Facebook communities of flats and neighborhoods. it is likely that there might be people who are moving out and would sometime give stuff for free. And lastly, check out these useful links written in the description below for more information. Do you have any tips you would like to include in finding student housing here in Sweden? Comment down below. This video is brought to you by Study in Sweden. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Hit the red button to subscribe. And to be updated with our latest content from Study in Sweden, hit the bell button to be notified. Hej då!